This time on Movie Reviews, we're going to be looking at The Lion King. The Lion King is the newest live-action remake from Disney and was directed by Jon Favreau and stars Donald Glover, Beyoncé, Chiwetel Ejiofor, and James Earl Jones, and of course is the reimagining of The Lion King. It's a story you guys know. If you know the animated movie, you know this movie. Guys, I've been really excited to finally see this movie. I've been waiting for this movie for several years now. It's been one of my most anticipated films, not only of this year, but of the past couple of years. And a lot of that is attributed to the director, Jon Favreau, who also directed The Jungle Book a few years back. And that was a film I absolutely loved. I even love it more than the original animated film. That's how much I love that film. I think it's just a masterpiece. And I was really excited to see what he would do with this film in particular, which really intrigued me, because when it comes to the original Jungle Book, the animated film, I'm not that much of a fan of it. And really watching that live action movie, yeah, I'm a big fan of that movie. But when it comes to The Lion King, I love the original Lion King movie, and so seeing this film was a little scary, especially after seeing all the kind of negative to mixed reception that this movie was getting as I was seeing the Rotten Tomatoes meter just fall. But no matter what, I was still excited, I was still interested, and I had faith in Jon Favreau, and what I got was a really, really enjoyable film that I absolutely loved from beginning to end. Now, I'm going to go ahead and get this over with. Yes, this is a 100% shot-for-shot remake of the original film. It is the original film. There is very little new here. The same dialogue, the same things happen. There are shots that are the exact same. And really, when it comes to that, yes, I can understand why people will not particularly like this film, maybe, or honestly, they might like it because of that. However, it's a very mixed reception that people are having with this film, and a lot of it is due to that. However, it's not a problem for me, and reasons why I say that is I feel like it's a big cop-out to really say that this film is just like the original in every way, and it's really not. There are a lot of subtle differences that I would like to talk about, but really, I just don't think that saying this film is just like the original is a fair point to make, even though it is very, very similar, as I said. And some people will not gravitate towards that at all. But this is my channel and I like to do things a little bit differently, so I'm going to be focusing on the stuff that the film did new and did right, and see it as its own film and not comparing it to the original so much. Because even though this tells the exact same story and does some of the exact same things, it's still its own movie told in a different way, similar to how such things as the Lion King Broadway show is different from the animated film. It's completely different, but the same as well. So with that big rant out of the way, I really want to talk about, of course, the animation in this film. Guys, the CGI is fantastic in this film. It is the thing that people will be talking about, and people have been talking about. The CGI in this film is some of the best CGI I have ever seen, especially for animals in particular. Jon Favreau did an excellent job with this. He did this with The Jungle Book, and just the animation in that was so breathtaking and amazing. And it shows here too. Nothing in this film is real. However, it just looks real. Some of the stuff in this movie is photorealistic, and it's really crazy to think. And also just the animation, the mannerisms, the way creatures walk is just beautifully done. It's just so good to see. It's like you're watching real life animals interact. Now, sometimes it doesn't all work as well as it should, especially during close-ups. You can really tell that maybe it's not exactly there. But for the most part, this is a crowning achievement of a film, and based solely on its CGI, it will be nominated for Special Effects Awards, and it will probably win. Now, something that's also good is the voice acting in this film. I was really interested in the voice acting, especially because I love the voices of all the characters from the original animated film. And what I loved about this film is they really made it their own, and it was really good. The boy that plays young Simba is really good. So is Donald Glover as adult Simba. But really, guys, the one that steals the show in this movie is Chiwetel Ejiofor as Scar. Now, I love Jeremy Irons as Scar. He is a fantastic villain. He voices that character so well. But there is something about the way Chiwetel Ejiofor delivers his lines. It just makes for a very different Scar and a very different performance. And I loved that about it because, in a way, it's like a different character. It's the same character, but it's a new interpretation. And I loved that for all the characters in this movie and really enjoyed it. I thought Timon and Pumbaa were hilarious as usual. There's several new jokes that I really did like. Some don't stick the landing as well, but some really do. There's some great new pieces of dialogue in here that aren't in the original film that I thought really helped elevate several scenes. And there's just certain things, of course, in the cinematography, which is another point I want to make. Guys, the cinematography in this movie is amazing, and they do such a good job of, yes, recreating scenes from the original movie. However, I don't mind this because it's really cool seeing certain scenes just completely replicated in this photorealistic way. And in fact, it just got me full of emotions while watching it, especially during the opening scene of the film. It was like watching the movie for the first time again, watching the original The Lion King for the first time again. And it was beautiful to watch. It brought me to tears. And there are many moments like that in this film that they do replicate, and they replicate beautifully. But also, they do some new things as well that I really wasn't expecting, and it brought some of my favorite moments of the movie. There's this one moment early in the film with Rafiki when he's finally putting Simba's face on the tree, and there's this close-up of his face, and it's just breathtaking to look at. The colors, and just it looked so good, guys. The cinematography was just so pretty, so good. The world was vibrant, colorful, and when it needed to be dark and grim, it was dark and grim. It just looked great. Now, of course, in terms of the songs, they are all good. There's nothing new here particularly because they're songs that we've heard before, but they are sung very well and new renditions that I really enjoyed. I loved the rendition of The Circle of Life in this movie. It was very different. Other songs were different too, such as Hakuna Matata, which was sung very differently, but it was still impactful, as well as the new version of Be Prepared, which, of course, I love the original, but what they did here was very different, but I really liked it. It was different, and I enjoyed that about it. Anything that was just a little bit different, I enjoyed. And also, I've been hearing this about the film. People talking about how the emotion that was in the animated film really isn't here in this film, and I completely disagree with that. Now, I understand with animation, you're able to portray stuff very differently. You're able to exaggerate more, and characters, even creatures, are able to show more emotion. However, something that The Lion King has to do is dealing with photorealistic animals. And so we don't get any crazy stuff such as like when Simba and Nala are climbing up on all the animals during their song as a kid, I Just Want to Be King. We don't have stuff like that. And we don't get like Simba crying with a tear coming down his face. No, but what we do have are the eyes. I have always heard this, that acting is all through the eyes, and I think Jon Favreau understood this. And so even though we don't have like very much in the way of emotive performances, like we don't see characters contort their faces in any way that's exaggerated, but it's more subtle and everything is done through their eyes. We see the emotion of the scene through their eyes. We see what they're feeling, and I think that's just beautiful and a different way of approaching this kind of setback to being more realistic. Now, when it comes to some of my negatives with the film, I guess, in a way, I will cave in and say that I wish they did just a little bit more with, like, new stuff and adding new stuff that felt really relevant, because there are a couple of scenes here and there that are new, but don't feel really integral to the story and that important to have. However, there are such scenes that have like new dialogue that I really enjoyed overall. Also, there's a couple of jokes with Timon and Pumbaa that don't land very well, especially one that is changed from the original, such as when they call Pumbaa fat. They change some dialogue there, and it's kind of cringy and just kind of, why didn't you just have the original line there? And also, since we have a little bit more in terms of scenes with Nala, I was hoping that they would develop her character a little bit more, and they don't really, which I was a little disappointed by, because they were really selling Beyoncé in this movie, and I think a lot of it really has to do with more or less the new song that she sings, which is very well done and is a really good song and really fits into the movie well. Overall, guys, I really enjoyed this film and I loved it. It does have its share of problems, and for some people, they won't particularly like that it is very similar to the original film. However, I feel that we are seeing it through a new lens with a new voice, and though it is familiar, it's still good because this story is very impactful. It's a story that can be told over and over and not get old. That's something that's great about this story, and these characters are, I feel like they are timeless and can be told over and over again, even if it is a little similar. I'm going to give The Lion King an 8 out of 10. Well, guys, I want to thank you for watching this review, and if you see The Lion King, don't just focus on the fact that it is exactly like the original. Focus on it as its own movie. Look at the changes that are made. Look at the subtleties. And look at all the hard work that was put into this film. I don't think this film was just made for money. I think it was really made to showcase these incredible special effects on a grand scale, such as with The Jungle Book. Now, there is one last thing I will talk about, and that is, even though I do love this film, I have grown a little tired and a little numb to these live-action Disney remakes. Now, I do like all of them. I don't hate any of them, and I like some more than others. However, I just think we've become so oversaturated with them recently, especially in the last couple of years, and especially during this year. I mean, we've had Dumbo, Aladdin, and then finally this movie, and I think maybe even the ratings for this movie and what some critics are talking about with this film is a lot due to just oversaturation and just getting a little bit tired, and this was finally the one that just broke everybody. But that's how I see it. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching, and as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next review.